Why is it a farm? No, yeah, I was wondering if when I counted it, it had already years out of it. Both production years were out. And yeah, covered the back with it. So I had all the pieces that I was wondering how to put it apart. And I started taking it apart, and I took it apart and put it on. And the budget actually, I walked on the parts, Dave. I replaced it.
Ron Burns, Kaiser.
That's it.
Bill Pearl.
I'm Bill McFarland from edge&ta.
Don Weber from Gulf Portland.
Chuck Lowry, Oregon City.
Paul Morgan, Beaver Creek.
Tom Stewart, Salem.
Dean Pettis, Salem.
Carrie Peck in Salem, and I work sometimes. I do a lot with CCTV in Salem, and they're the public access channel there. So, and I've been a member probably for like a year now. So I like all the small engines and International and John Deere and all those things. So.
Great, welcome.
Bella Hauser from Monmouth, and it's my first time here as a guest, and I'm also the chauffeur.
Don Blackford, All Oregon.
Nate Deggerstead, currently Sparks, Nevada, but from Salem, Oregon.
Paul Denman, Tiger, Oregon.
Ernie Stolford, Spring, Jefferson, Oregon.
Yeah, Steve Husband from Canby.
Les Wallace from Oak Grove, Oregon. I'm the safety officer for Ranch 15.
Oh, straight up, yeah.
Right down north.
Lloyd Asher from Oregon City.
Armstrong, Florida.
Tom Winter, Canby.
Jackson, Old Scotia.
Greg Swenson, Cordell.
Rich Daniels, Portland.
David Brown, Portland, Oregon.
Hey, David.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
His wife Sally.
I'll work my way around.
I'm Jim Brown.
Bob Biswell, Junction City.
Steve Johnson, Salem.
Sarah Bennett Kaiser.
Mark Fenn, Kaiser.
Richard Trevix, Liberty.
Doug Foltz, Liberty.
Warren Scott, Beaverton.
Kaiser, Oregon.
Hi, everybody. There is a sign-up sheet going around.
It's a big group. There's 50 people here today. I counted it.
Hey, typically, we have 30.
Yeah. So, this is great. I'm glad to see you guys come out. And this is I told Mike, this is officially a building committee meeting. So if anybody with a pocket protector and a bunch of pencils comes in the door, this is an official building committee meeting.
Thank you.
All right, few announcements, I guess, before we go on to show and tell. We have a new edge-to branch. Right here, you want it? You're involved in it, you want to say something about it, down in Bend?
Thank you.
Yeah, as some of you all already know that over in Central Oregon and Bend area, that they were forming a new edge-to branch. And some of us were over there 1st of October at Tom Street's place where they had a gas up. And at that time they had submitted their form, but they hadn't gotten notification back as to what branch they are. The way they've gotten it back, they are branch 248. Now, one of the things is that it really is a pretty good group there. Branch 15, we've had our May meeting there. Was it May? No, June.
End of May, 1st of June,
End of May
how it falls.
meeting at his place a couple times, and I'm sure that if we do it again, it'll be even bigger with the branch there. But anyway, unfortunately, next Saturday, which is our Christmas meeting, is also the branch 248 meeting at Glenn Cooper's.
That's their first official meeting, I believe. They
Well,
have
that's their first meeting as
As
a
a
branch
branch.
248.
Yeah, yeah, so,
Because at Tom Street's, they didn't have a branch number yet.
right.
So anyway, there's a conflict next Saturday for some people that are dual members. And I had talked to Tom on Wednesday, and so, and actually I had thought that he might even be here, because he was gonna be driving from St. Helens back over to Bend today. But anyway, they're gonna try to figure out some way that they don't conflict with branch 15 things. Impossible.
Sorry.
So 248, and who's the president?
This might have.
Do you know?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I know Tom's
I
safety
never asked that
officer.
question.
Tom is safety officer. Yeah,
Susan is
secretary.
secretary.
Right. So, great. Ken, you want to, Ken's Lang has been really active in this, putting this building together. I think the most current thing you're doing is if you look up in this corner over here at the ceiling, you'll see that he's put in a bunch of cedar. Huh? Who what? Oh, you did it.
I did.
I thought, okay.
Both of us did.
And it looks great. I think that, was this a cedar that was donated
Yeah.
from, the Deer Club?
Yes.
Okay. So it's upstairs. We're looking, if anybody can stick around after the meeting today, there's extra cedar upstairs. We'd like some help just getting it down the steps. And
Also, there's a bunch of boxes of kind of heavy stuff against the wall where that cedar is, so that kind of has to be moved around. And I got a hand for that, and maybe do it real quick, bring the cedar down. Save me a day's work.
do you want to say something about the coil you're looking for as well?
Yeah, need for the raffle engine, you need
A
a
low
low
tension.
tension coil.
If anybody, so there's a raffle engine we're in need of a low tension coil for.
It's a 1912 two-horse economy Sparta hit and miss engine. That's the raffle engine that was donated by Chuck and Sandy for this year.
Oh, okay. All right. So we're just needing a low tension coil to get it to go with the engine when
Yes,
the raffle.
I'll have to have that to run.
So if anybody has one, you can contact us or Ken or.
Well, I haven't looked yet, but I think I got the suitcase full.
Probably do, Chuck.
I know you got a suitcase full, but we're looking for a coil. I got a pack for when the old lady runs me out the door.
Who hasn't signed the sheet?
Me.
Steve,
Did you explain that? What, why the sheet? The sign-up sheet going around, the reason we do that and we track the volunteer hours is because when we go for grants and that kind of stuff, sometimes the volunteer hours will count towards a dollar value. And so we track, the secretary keeps a list for the year of all the volunteer hours for whether we're working in the building or shows and that kind of stuff. So that's why the list always goes around.
If you're working in the building, there's a sheet in there on a clipboard on the bench. Put your hours down so they know how many in-kind and donation hours there are.
And while the introductions were going around, I'm Frank Weber. I'm the vice president of the club, and I'm also in charge of the scrap donation program. So if you have scrap or something, give me a call and we'll make arrangements to come get it or whatever. The scrap that has been donated over the last several years has pretty much helped build this building. We have brought in over almost $80,000 in the last several years in scrap. So that's what the scrap goes to, is this building.
Steve, can you speak on where we're at occupancy wise and permits?
We are very close. The last things we needed was we needed the engineering on all the line shafts from the engineer, and that took a while to get. He was gonna donate it to us, and he did, but it took a while. I got that turned into the county. The problem is now the county says, well, we've got all this engineering, but we don't have a drawing of what the engineering is doing. Because the structure that the shafts are hanging on was not part of the original building. So what I need to do is take a plan and draw those in and make notes of all the connections and the sizes of everything and get that turned into the county. I've not got that done yet. And we were waiting on one other.
I think pretty much around.
Oh, and then where there was a lot of discussion going on with the architect and the county on what doors have to be open when we're open and which ones we can leave locked. For example, we really don't want that door open so that anybody can go into that and then go up the stairs. And so I think we've got all that deciphered, and we've just got to do a couple of things, change a couple of locks and put some screening over that window. So we're getting close, but we're not quite there. But hopefully here in the next few weeks we'll have occupancy, and then we can have our inspection. And I think that is the only things that are holding us up from getting that. So.
Cool. Next meetings, I'll throw out there. We do have a meeting, a general meeting next Saturday. Izzy's Pizza in Newburgh. Thank you. What time can we be in? Is it 11 o'clock?
11:30. 11:30. Yeah, they don't open before that, so.
Did we get that resolved as to how long we
Yeah,
can
we've got an
stay?
extra hour, so I think we've got until like 2:30 or.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So we've got.
So Izzy's Pizza next Saturday for the general meeting.
Christmas party.
The following Branch 15 class will be the day after Christmas, December 26th, and I assume we'll be back in here, and we need to kind of figure out what topics you guys want to work on. What do you want to see? I don't know if we haven't done a lot of communication yet for projects. Warren, are you still interested in doing the Babbitt as a class, or?
Yeah, we gotta figure that out though. I
Okay.
gotta move stuff to get to that project again.
All right.
And we certainly would have to be outside with that, depending on the weather, I guess.
Okay. Okay. Is there anybody out here that's working on a current project that you'd like to do as a class project? Or share as a class
Nobody out there
project? How about any topics oh, yeah.
Mike, I have a Oliver potato digger and it has a bearing issue, so that I could maybe bring my potato digger down and take a look at that.
Bearing is in Babbitt bearing, or?
I think it's a bush, it's a brass bush. I mean, it wouldn't take a long time. Something to look at.
Okay. And I can get together with you after. and
Should we
work
just have a
something out.
potato digger exposition?
We've got a few now, don't we?
And we
Okay.
have a
Usually
lot of
the debit
Irish.
class would be March.
Yeah, February, March is kind of what we've done for there. Are we still wanting to do a swap meet? We've typically done like a January swap meet. Are we all on board for that?
Sure. I think so.
Tabletop swap.
Tabletop swap meeting, good way to word it.
Okay.
If it is rainy and wet out here, this driveway is still pretty soft, and we won't be parking in the grass like this, so.
We've been at the, we've been invited to come up and take a tour up in Donald at G&K, K&G.
Machine.
Yeah, I was gonna talk to Don about it before the meeting got started and I forgot.
Okay.
So we'd have to plan that ahead enough that we can announce it before.
Will they do it on a Saturday? Okay.
Figure that out and let us know so we can announce it at the class previous to that. If we're calling this a class anymore, I guess it is.
Yeah. Okay. Any other announcements before we go to the show and tell table? Any other 50-50 people?
Yes, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, those of you that knew Roger White, that was a hard worker out here at Powerland, he died sometime this last fall, and I didn't know anything about it until
Right after the STEMA.
right after the STEMA. And Wayne Thackeray's mother died.
Last week.
Yeah, their services today in Astoria.
Oh.
So,
Who was that?
Wayne Thackeray's mother
Oh, yeah.
passed last week. There's a service today in Astoria. That's where she's living.
Was it his dad that died here just a while back?
no,
Dad's still with us.
That was an uncle.
no, that was an uncle, that was Larry Thackeray. Larry, was that right?
No, it was a Lauren something or other.
Well, Lauren is his
Lauren
dad's
is that was the
name.
middle name instead of a first name on the.
Right.
Woodburn?
Lawrence Thackeray from Woodland. Yeah. So, I don't know, it's been a pretty good winter, we haven't lost anybody else, I don't think.
No, it's been quiet up there. All right.
Some mornings I've gotta check, but.
No, any other announcements? Yes.
Told the president about this, but I was suggesting a meeting, this year, we had one, and I don't remember his name, about Centralia,
No, up in, the center.
Center.
I can't think of his name. Jerry,
Jerry's his first name, but I
Yeah.
can't think of the last one.
Yeah.
Lane.
Jerry Lane.
Yeah.
Jerry Lane, yeah, if we, had any time in the meeting schedule to go there again, if you would have us, I think that was a really great place.
Is that the old building?
Go back and see.
No, that was,
Big barn thing.
Yeah.
had a huge dining room.
Actually, wasn't that
I
on
made
the
that.
battleground?
Yeah, you did.
The center.
The
center.
The center.
The center.
Yeah, that's cool. He had several buildings there, but that one had that really great kitchen kind of thing in the
Yes.
middle, and we had, yeah.
Okay.
If he's got time, and if we do the schedule, maybe a great place to go to again.
Yeah. And you've got a contact for him, or?
I do.
You do? Okay. What was the name? Jerry?
Jerry Lane.
Lane.
Side note on that, first time I was up there, Maury took me down there. The guy told me, he says, now don't wake up the guard. Whatever you do, don't wake up the guard. We went in there and here's this 15-pound cat asleep on the top of the toolbox in the toolbox up above. We walked by and the cat reaches out and takes a swat at my hat.
One thing I can say too, this draw to everybody, because you've got all so many other people, but the Skamania Museum up there, they built, actually bought the rights to some mine just above them there. And they got a lot of equipment out there, and they dug a hole in the highway there, I think, and built themselves kind of thing. It's like a mine. They need a certain type of a rail car that would fit on the track they have. And if anybody knows of any rail cars that they would maybe procure.
George has got one.
So
Oh, that's an ore cart.
Ore cart, yeah, they roll on the tracks of the mine.
More like yard
Yeah, I forget the gauge size, but I'll find out what it is. But it's a certain size. Okay,
Steve?
One more thing, at our meeting next Saturday, we will conclude that auction on, there's a pump, and there's ammonia compressor, and a bone grinder.
And Flint and Walling water pump,
Well, what was the other?
that's the three.
Oh, that, okay, that's what I, yeah, it's,
Is the
yeah.
pump here?
No,
Okay. The bone grinder and the ammonia compressor are sitting right out here, and they're a little top heavy. Don't lean on them or they'll tip over on you. They need to be bolted or anchored down. The parts to the bone grinder that aren't with it are sitting on this table over here with these casting patterns.
So, I've currently got some bids, people have called me, so, but we will conclude that auction up there at the meeting, so.
Anything? You think we'll go on? Oh, yes, in the back.
I'll just mention really quickly that, you know, during the steam up, I worked on I was filming for CCTV, the public access channel in Salem, and it took me like all of the whole fall to get it finished and edited, and it's up there on their servers, and they're gonna run it like 10 times in the next 3 months or something like that. Anyways, if you're interested, you know, they got DVD, they'll make DVD copies for you. But if you're interested, you know, see me later and I can give you their phone number. And when you call them up, you just say, yeah, I'm looking to get a copy of the Great Oregon Steam Up 2015, and they'll make one up for you. I think, you know, for a small fee, they'll mail it out to your house, because just like we are, they are a non-profit 501c3 and all that. So, you know, yeah.
Great.
My name's Carrie, and just, yeah, hit me up if you're interested.
along that same line is, we did get a grant for 2,000.
Yes.
And what that grant's for is kind of a high-tech setup. And Tom, the electrician Tom isn't here. But what it'll do is, it'll be electronically controlled to where they can push a button, light will light over a particular machine, and the thing will play the sound of the actual machine. So it's kind of like an OMZ hands-on high-tech. And we will be the first ones on the grounds to have that installed. And Tom is heading that up, and it'll be kind of neat to see when we get that going.
There's several other museums on the ground that are anxious to see how that works and if they can do that. And Tom is the one that did a lot of the work on the grant, and he's all excited about it. And the good thing is we have somebody that wants to put that in, because it's way above my knowledge and even my desire to learn about it. It'll be neat when it's done, but he just can't wait to get started. So that'll be a neat.
What was the total or
Well,
ballpark cost of the system?
Well, the total package probably be around $5,000. We approved $1,500 of branch 15 money to go with that, and then Tom has rounded up some in-kind donations of knowledge and stuff, helping set it up. But it's probably about a $5,000 package. But the grant from the Marion County Cultural Trust or something was $2,000. So.
Yes.
Just one thing, anyone interested, the end of January is the Ag Show up in Portland. And that, it's a cold place to set up on Monday, but the rest of the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, it's a heated building to show displays, etc.
And the dates?
Uh,
Sam Stewart
the
is
25th, is that?
Ron.
Wait just a second.
Just a second, Steve's got it on his phone. I think 25th is a Monday, and that's set up.
Are you gonna be the man in charge this year?
Sam Stewart and I are working together, but Sam's the one to contact.
And then, so I'm working with him, so he can, so I can show him what needs to be
The
done.
25th is the Monday that's set up, and the show is Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, the 26th, 7th, and 8th.
And everything has to be out by noon on Friday. And the Thursday, they shut down at 3 o'clock, so people can get their stuff out at 3 if they would like that day and get out of Dodge. So, that's a little helpful too.
So, and like he just said, Sam Stewart is now our volunteer coordinator. If you guys wanna come out and volunteer to drive nails or wash windows or do anything beyond these events, he's the one to contact. He'd like to list the names of people who wanna come out here and help. Especially once we have occupancy and in the summer when Powerland is open, we'd like to have somebody around here on the weekends.
Any other 50-50 people out there? Yes?
I just wanted one.
That's one. Okay. Anybody else? We'll get 50-50 going here in a minute. So to get started on the show and tell, I'd like to start off.
Okay. All right, I'll get you changed.
Introduce Bill once again over here in the corner.
There you go.
So I took an engine and a few things down to the Foster Farms historical farm for their apple cider day. I forget what the date was, a month and a half ago or so. And I called them up, asked what they thought about me bringing a gas engine down there. And they actually weren't too excited about it because apparently their genre is prior to gasoline. If it was steam engine and I wanted to bring it down, they were all excited. But gasoline, they weren't so sure. So coming in the door, they wanted to put me in the very far back because it was going to be stinky and loud and all that sort of stuff. And I said, it's not going to be loud and it's not going to be smelly. And so I ended up being kind of up close. And apparently I was being watched pretty critically from the director of the museum from afar, making sure. And he finally did make contact. I think I set up at like 8 in the morning. Finally made it over to me about 4 o'clock to talk to me. And his first comment was, I've been trying to get over to talk to you all day long, but you have had the biggest crowd around your display than anybody else on the farm. And he goes, apparently you're well received. So I may have something out for next year where if you'd like to go down for a day, a one-day display and bring some things, I think we'd be welcome, although we're a little too new for their
You could find a hand-powered
crowd.
machine, I'm sure.
I could bring a few more. So anyway, after that show, I loaded up and I had been tipped off from my sister who had visited Bill's antique shop over in Estacada that there was a machine there. So I had all my engines on the trailer and I pulled up and Bill come running out to see, check out. I don't know if he was thinking about selling them or what, but he met me before I really got out of the truck.
Well, I didn't want him to start the truck and drive away.
So we got to chatting a little bit, and Bill, out of the blue, says, well, I've got one of those. And Bill didn't know a whole lot about it. He said it was a hit and miss, but he didn't really know if it was a hit and miss, and he didn't know the difference. So we got to chatting, and this is Bill. He owns Wade Creek Antiques in Estacada, and I'll let you kind of talk about what you got there.
Yeah, I like Mike said, I don't know too much about hit and miss engines. Everything I know, I learned from Mike in one trip over to my house where he helped me start sort of taking it apart. I've got about 4 or 5 older tractors. One of them, which is a John Deere Model a 47 Model M, which I've had at the Antique Powerland after we restored it and put it in the parade and stuff. So I'm familiar with the Powerland and come out here every once in a while. But so yeah, the antique shop, you know, every once in a while we'll go to a sale, an antique sale or you know, estate sale or whatever, and this engine happened to be in a barn up by Viola, if you know where that is. it's not too far probably from where Mike lives off of Redland Road, you know, around the Beaver Creek, Redland area. And this was in that barn, and I got some other stuff there too, like post vise and other things. I like rusty stuff, you know. But anyway, I've always wanted one of these, but I didn't know, other than getting it home and in my shop, I didn't know what to do with it. So it had been sitting there for a couple of years, and then I happened across Mike, and so I've been working on it for just a few weeks, and I haven't really had that much time to work on it, but I think I've got most of it freed up. It's a Raleigh Schreier or Schreier?
Raleigh Schreier, Freeport, Illinois.
And I think it's around 1912.
It should be 1909 is when they first got in business. This book is here and available. It's upstairs. Use it. Just find me. And you're welcome. Anybody who's got an engine that's in this was donated by the Delmore family, and I've got it in the, can't call it a library. I got it in the attic.
Got it. Okay. So, I mean, this engine, apparently, I've done a little bit of reading online and found out that it's a little bit on the rare side, because that company was only going for a short period of time.
Couple years or
Yeah,
so?
something like that. And so this is, and you guys know all about this. I don't know anything about it, but the gasoline tank is actually in the cast part of the engine. And so when Mike came over, he said, "Oh my gosh," he says, "I don't know how you're going to clean that out." And I got to poking around, and I discovered that under the layer of grease underneath the crankshaft, that there was a port in the top. And actually, that came. I had to soak it for a while, but I finally got out the plug and opened that thing up, and I've been able to sort of take a, you know, barbecue brush that I bent around and stuff, and kind of started to clean that out, and then use compressed air and stuff to start working on that. But you know, if anybody has any suggestions, it'd be great.
I would just buy a can of carburetor cleaner, like automotive carburetor cleaner. It's terribly expensive, but you can buy, I think, a 2-quart can and a 3-gallon can, and just fill it up. And when you're let it set for a while, pour it back in your can, and then hose it out with water. It'll wash off with water. And then anything that's gummy, oily, greasy, it'll take.
You're supposed to be able to take, using electrolysis method, you hook your wiring up backwards. And it'll clean out the inside instead of the outside.
But would it
comes
take
out like
grease?
brand new.
Would it take the grease and the oil though?
It takes everything out.
You know, the interesting thing about it is, because it almost looks like it ran out of gas, because there's nothing but kind of a crusty rust on the inside. There wasn't any kind of moisture, oil, or anything in there.
Yeah.
And so what else have I done here? Since Mike was over,
Well, when we spoke at the antique shop, he told me he didn't know what it was, and it was stuck. And as we started working on it, a few taps and some oil, everything started coming apart. It was really a treat to see such a complete engine. Although stuck, it started opening up, and it wanted to come to life.
One of the things that Mike mentioned was the governor on this was.
It's a little sleeve, as you guys know that have the hit and miss, a little sleeve on the inside, a little collar that has to slide back and forth for the fly ball, the governor to work, and that thing was stuck tighter than a drum, and had very thin little edges on it. I was telling him, be careful not to get a screwdriver and really start prying, you'll break an ear off or something.
Yeah, it's all.
You called me a week later. And,
yeah. It's all freed up, and I've lubed it up pretty good. I've also gotten, the valves were stuck too, and Mike told me, he says, well, be careful, he said, of the valve guides because they're pretty fragile, but I've gotten them freed up as well, and both intake and exhaust. And then also I was showing a couple of the guys, the needle valve here is awfully clean. It's almost like they never touched it, you know? And the seat, from what I can tell, looks pretty good, but it's in pretty good shape. So I guess what when I saw Mike and I met him and I saw his engines and they looked like they were still warm from running, right? I was pretty excited. So I'm thinking, oh, well, gee, wonder if I could get this going. And after he came over, mainly I'd just like to see if I can get it running. There is some pitting on the cylinder wall that Mike pointed out, and I've been in there with emery cloth it's pitting that's kind of, how would you describe that, on the downside or the bottom of the cylinder. And I'm not sure why that would be pitted, except maybe some water had settled in there or something, but I've worked on that a little bit. I don't know how.
It's gotta be pretty bad before it won't run.
Yeah, it can be pretty rough looking and still work fine.
Yeah, it's
So it's hit and miss. It's also an igniter engine, which is pretty cool. I know you were saying you were having some trouble on the igniter.
okay, so, I don't know much. I mean, I've worked on points and stuff on old trucks and everything, but these I've gotten freed up.
Okay.
See, I can get them some.
Oh, yeah. All
Okay,
right.
but the problem is that the shaft that comes off the head, you see the part where that would connect to it?
Yep.
It's still frozen. So I assume that I've still got to keep.
You can hang that in that bucket of stuff for electrolysis, and it'll clean that whole thing up.
Really?
Make it brand new.
Just might have to put
you don't
It
have a lot
just
of
needs
grass.
to rust right out the inside.
Yeah, so it's coming along. It
Yeah.
still has a few things to go.
Great, you're getting there.
And
The one shaft in there is insulated for the points.
right, and that's another thing that I actually brought my continuity meter, but I've got to figure out exactly how I'm testing
it.
Yeah. Whether I'm testing the post to the ground or what. But anyway, the point of the matter is that Mike came over one time, helped me out. I don't know. You think it'll run?
It will. Oh, yeah.
That's a beautiful little engine. Maybe after class, come over and chat with them and take a look at it a little closer.
Yeah.
age, it's really small.
Yeah.
For a horse and a half.
Yep, a nice little engine.
The makers of this, Raleigh and Schreier, there was some connection with another engine company, if I read.
It's Freeport, Illinois, and the engineer was part of Stover, went to Raleigh Schreier, then he went back to Stover according to this. I was gonna let him have this to read that.
Yeah, that's great. And that might be what I copied and sent you?
Yeah.
Some of that?
But anyway, yeah, if you have any ideas, come chat with me. I basically know nothing.
You're getting there.
We ready for a 50-50 drawing?
Yep, it's a sickness.
Yeah.
I never
Yeah, all basic.
Okay. Blue ticket. Last three numbers. 989.
Well, what do you know? Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome. I get a cut?
Shit. Do you get it? Take it.
Yeah, you drew mine.
I didn't probably The pot today was $66, so there was $33 split in half, so thanks, Mike. Wow.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, I wanna buy it.
Less. Oh, yeah, come on up. I think we're ready for show and tell.
You're outside.
Les Wallace.
I think that's what he's gonna do.
No, we got something else we're gonna talk about first. Because this year on the safety officer, we're gonna talk about a show and tell safety. How many guys have a set of oxygen settling tanks at home?
Only one?
Only one guy.
Only one.
Okay,
Picture great.
Usually on tanks, I mean, we don't have a set here, but there's a neck ring on the top of the cylinder that has markings on it that usually talks or identifies the manufacturer or the distributor that owns that tank. And those are not really part of the cylinder. So if a guy, if you see on some of them, they got a ring welded on the top and they pick the cylinder up with a crane and put it over there somewhere and stuff, that is really a no-no. You don't want to do that. Because these little rings, are just pressed on top of the cylinder. All they're designed for is to hold the cap on, for safety reasons. So that's just one thing that you guys all got tanks, just kind of, you know, you can tip one over and it's not going to pop off, but they're basically just pressed on the nipple on top. They're just peened over a little bit and then the cap goes on. So just something you guys need to be aware of and think about when you're going. I'll leave this out here for a little bit. You guys can see what you get a chance to look at it.
Caps with the thing.
So that's the one show tell. The other one is when you get retired, you know, you always got to have something to do. So being in the welding business, I've had access to a lot of cylinders, and this was a kind of a round bottom cylinder. We made it into a little barbecue. So the motto of this is, this guy I used to call on at Bremerton, the welding instructor at community college, built one. He was in the oil field business, so he had an oil rig and a truck, service truck and stuff. And he had a little barbecue on his back fender. On the other side was the vise. On the other side was his cooking device. And that was the thing. Most of those guys made something to cook their lunch on. So his motto was to cook 4 hot dogs or 2 hamburger patties. So that's what this does. Anyway, part of the, these 2 little ears here came from swap meet last year. The tails is part of a spring, and the hinges on the back are they're for a safe, so they're kind of a hidden thing. And then this just comes out. You put your briquettes in there. In 15 minutes, you got a hamburger cooking.
Does he smoke out the nose or the other end?
Well, I had my youngest boy thinks I should put a hole in the back here too, but it only has 2 nostrils. It has the holes in here are real. It'll smoke out in the top. That's about as close as it gets. We're not going to put one in the back. Anyways.
Something else you need to tell them about is oil.
Yeah, when if the cap is a little tight on here, don't put any oil on there. Oil and oxygen don't mix.
Oh, they mix real good.
It works really well. It'll send you to the moon and back. So you have to be careful with oil or anything. The best way to test the fitting on oil or on a oxyacetylene torch is some like some ivory soap and a little liquid, and spray it on there and see if it bubbles. So we are going to have, we talked about a safety class on oxyacetylene cutting apparatus and stuff for one of the Saturday classes. So we'll wait until we get a TV and a DVD, or if someone's got one and they'd like to volunteer for an afternoon or in the morning, we'll put on a little class on oxyacetylene. Okay? That's
Russ,
it.
are we gonna need to do a recertification of the forklift?
If there's anybody here that would like to be trained on our Branch 15's forklift, we can do that at a Saturday class. So if anyone's interested, let me know. And
Annually less?
well, it is, but last year we did. Most of the guys were the same year as the year before, and then we had a deal out here in front at the first Friday of setup day. If anyone wanted to be trained that couldn't make it to the class, we didn't have anyone show up. So we'll put it in the newsletter and see what happens.
Is that good for 1 year, 2 years?
1 year.
1 year.
1 year. But you're certified, or so we don't. We have to do is just get a new card.
Okay.
go to the, if we have a class, then you'll just get a new car.
Okay.
I didn't bring them with me, but I got those sheets with all the suggestions and, do's and don'ts.
Okay.
Printed up in my computer.
Okay, all right. Any questions on cylinders? Acetylene is a different animal. This is just for oxygen or any type of high pressure or low pressure cylinder.
I think having a class just for that is a grand idea.
Yeah, it's a really good
Because
idea.
so many of us are tied into that, and some of us have been to welding classes, some of us have not.
Well, most people, you know, are home hobbyists or self-taught, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's just some, you know, you pick up one thing in a class like that.
Well, I took 2 years of it in school, and I'm still learning stuff.
There you go.
So that's the way it works.
Right. Okay, next, who's next?
Paul, did you have a show and tell? Paul?
Paul Morgan.
Yeah, real quick, we're still trying to figure out the heat in the room. So the guys in the back, are you feeling any heat?
Yes.
Are you too warm, too cold, comfortable? Please speak up and let us know, because this is the first time we've played with it.
It's just not right.
I'm still cold, but my husband says I'm always cold, so.
I brought this along, I just acquired this not too long ago. I've got a Samson engine, a little 2-horse, and I was missing the carburetor. That's what this is the carburetor. It's got the governor on it and everything, which is, I thought, pretty unusual. So that gives me incentive maybe to do something with that.
Where'd you find that, Paul?
Huh?
Where'd you find that?
It was online.
What?
Somebody told me about it. I don't do that stuff, but I got my son Todd busy on it, and he hunted it down and ended up getting it. And that's kind of unusual, because it didn't make a lot of them. Right, that's a hard piece to find.
What size is the engine?
It's about a 2-horse, I would guess. This actually is off, I think, the 3-horse, which is the same thing. The only difference is the main body casting is a little different. But I have the main body casting on the other one. And I measured everything up, and I do believe that all I do is just take the parts off and put it on the other one, it'll work fine. So I was pretty happy about that. Yeah, it's pretty unusual.
All right, Frank, you're up.
Okay. What I brought isn't exactly engine related, but it is to me since I deal with water in more ways than one. These are a couple oscillating sprinklers, early 20s. This one here, I'm missing a bunch of the parts, but here's a picture of what it's supposed to look like. It's typical water activated, like an oscillating sprinkler. The water goes in, works the cylinder both directions, and it'll sit there and just oscillate with the water.
Frank, did you bring that once before to class? Somebody had brought one in once.
I think I have, but
Okay.
they multiply. This one is a March Rainmaker. It's designed, the pipe would come out here and run 100 to 200 feet and would oscillate in the crops for like strawberries, and all your jets and spray nozzles would be out here. Your main water comes in here. You've got your water going to your cylinder, bypassing here, and that's what controls your oscillation speed. Haven't had a chance to plug it in and try it yet, but I figure with enough water pumps that I've got, I can come up with something to make them work. The other thing I came up with is this little gizmo. It is a current tester. You would hook it up.
If you can get it out of the box.
I know, it's tight. It would mount on a rod here. It's connected to an electronic counter, and this would measure the flow of the current in creeks, pipes, and that kind of things. There again, I seen it and I figured with enough water I pump, I can do something with it for display. So that's what I brought.
And the modern technology of that is my HVAC guy has got a device similar to that, that he plugs into his smartphone and will hold over on a heat register and measure the airflow coming out to know if there's much airflow coming out. But it's got the little fins that spin like that, but it plugs into his smartphone and it
I
reads
think
them all
that's
right out
older
there
than
in
a
the
smartphone.
Yeah. Oh, yes, but I'm just saying, that's modern technology for that.
Go back. Do you have the sluice box that sits in?
Not yet.
There's a little box that little sluice that sits in because you have to have a known amount of water going through to do the full test.
Really? I was just gonna use it in a gutter.
But you have, these, for accuracy, have boxes, a sluice box that went with it for the different amounts of water you use, because I dealt with that stuff when I was in Portland up there working, doing water meters and stuff.
How many you got, Ernie?
I have none of them.
Yeah. I just figured it was something different, so that's what I brought.
Who brought the castings that are up here? Chimneys, yours?
I did. But, first of all, I'm gonna do a sales pitch. As most of you know, I put out the Western Antique Iron Trader, comes out the end of every month. And in fact, the December issue is being mailed on Monday. And that's mostly because of the fact that the printing company was closed for Thanksgiving and on Friday, so they couldn't mail it on Friday. So it'll be mailed on Monday, but Monday evening, the e-weight files will be loaded. So if you do it on the computer, Monday evening, they'll be out there. Okay, I do have some flyers here, because I'm sure that there's probably a few people here that have never seen it. You pass it around, or if you want to keep a flyer and put your name under referred by, you can give it to a friend, and if they subscribe, you get credit. Anyway, after the meeting, I do have pins here, so if you're a current subscriber and you haven't got one of the pins, you can see me, or if you want to renew or subscribe, you can do it for $20 today. This is the only class I'm going to do this at, so there's your chance. Now on these castings, I've got a 1903 4-horse Stover, and it's a pretty early engine. It has the hot tube base on it, and I think Stover only did that for a few years. And I was, curious after I got the engine as to whether anybody had a chimney for a Stover, or had pictures, or knew of anybody that was running a Stover with a hot tube. And no one was ever able to come up with any photos or had ever seen one run. And this was posted on Smokestack several different times. And Joe Mauer, who's the Stover archive guy, he also was never able to come up with a photo or drawing or anything of what a Stover hot tube was supposed to be like. So anyway, a couple summers ago, just out of curiosity, I thought, well, I've got a Bovard Seapang, same as what you have, that has this hot tube chimney on it, and it has a hot tube. And so one afternoon, I took the chimney and the hot tube off of my Bovard Seapang and stuck it on my Stover. And this really didn't fit right. I ended up having to put some blocks underneath it, and it was just sort of setting on top of the thing, and just stuck a propane torch in it, and by golly, I turned it over a couple times, and it was running. So anyway, I decided then that it would be nice to have a hot tube chimney, but no one could come up with one. And so one of the guys that I work with, or used to work with before I retired, has been taking Gary Martin's pattern making class for years, and he's actually one of the star
pupils that work for Gary on those things. And so I showed him this one and said I would like ones that had a base that would fit my stover, because this base that doesn't match what the stover base does. So anyway, I got him a little tracing of what the mounting. We didn't have any photos of what a stover one's supposed to look like, and so I just had him put a large boss down here. So I've got lots of room to experiment and figure out, where the torch really should be and what we're going to do. So anyway, this will be my prototype one, and after I get it machined and try it on my stover, we might end up having more of these cast. Silverton Foundry cast this one a week or two ago, I guess it was. So anyway, that's what it is.
George, a thought has occurred to me. A number of us have had parts made up from castings and patterns and all that. The idea being, if all of these patterns were made available to other members who may want to duplicate a part, we'll have some kind of a library or a source where we can do that.
That'd be nice.
Interested in that? Because I have a bunch of patterns.
Well, yeah, in fact, actually, several years ago, I actually toyed with the idea that, some of you know, I get around an awful lot, visit an awful lot of collectors and, around the country, actually around from the world. And I've been to an awful lot of places where guys have made patterns and cast parts and everything. And I'm sure people are duplicating efforts, making up patterns to have parts cast that somebody else has already done that in the past. And so I had thought at one time of maybe creating like a website or something that anybody that had extra castings or patterns could put it on there, and that way, people would have access.
You could use this as a way to get that out. A little article.
Isn't there a smokestack? Isn't there a casting thing on smokestack already?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think there is. Yeah. If you look up who's made what patterns or something.
Yeah. But even if there is, it's not being used very well.
Who's next? What else do we have? We got some wrenches, drill motors, hand drills. George?
I have a funny looking wood thing.
This funny looking wood thing?
Oh, that thing.
That is probably the oldest item here today. My grandfather made this my great-grandfather in about 1860. And he got tired of getting horseshoe nails in his knees when he was shoeing the horses. So he made this to put the foot on while he was working on it. And these are just some things that I did to show how to repurpose old metal. This was a railroad hacksaw blade, which was 2 feet long. And this knife and this knife were made out of the other half of this. And I started making these knives in the winter of '67 when I was working on a quarter-mile rail welder in Havre, Montana. And I just finished them about 2 years ago.
Take your time to do it right.
And this is repurposing a file. And I made this one about 60 years ago when I was 12 years old or something like that. And there's some naughty pictures under the... And in other words, I just put together what I needed to hold the items, and that's it.
So you have all the grinders to do all that stuff?
I don't think he heard you.
Right.
There's a question over here.
You have all the grinders to do all that metal work, grind it down, like.
That's all cold ground
Oh,
with the carburetor wheel. Just very gently keep going at it for days on end.
there you go.
The file, I did retemper the file, because they're pretty brittle. So I did retemper it to soften it up a bit, but it's still all coated ground for shipping.
Don, you want to talk about these drills?
You got 5 minutes.
I don't do 5 minutes. This is a little different on it, but everybody knows me, I collect almost anything that, I'm like a cemetery, I take anything. This little drill here, come Christmas time, he turned 72 years old. I was given that drill for my 8th Christmas present by my father. The next year I got a plane, and the next year I got a handsaw. This one's just, because it's so different on it, I brought it. This one here goes every which way from Sunday. You go that way, you can flop him that way, you can flop him this way, or you can go either way with it, anyway. Just
What year was it made?
Pardon?
How old is it?
I don't know.
Right, more than 5.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Got not enough plastic on it.
This one here, a friend of mine gave me this, no batteries included on his note. Another little one. This one here is a little different because the gear is all enclosed. No open gears on it at all. That's just part of it, there's 15 more on the top.
You know, Frank, this is all going to be yours someday.
Why wait, he's stealing it now. I'll borrow it and stay at home for it.
I store it. Yeah. Okay. Who's a little,
That,
phone crank here?
that belongs to Tom Stewart. Tom, you want to speak on your,
Go ahead, you
well, I don't know a whole lot about where you got it or anything. It's a sign, I believe it came out of a school or college, high school, college. It's got a tag on the front. Looks like a magneto out of an old telephone. But I believe it was a teaching tool.
I bought it in an antique south of Coos Bay.
South of Coos Bay Antique Shop.
Crank it.
I did.
Yeah, we don't have enough light in there. Keep going.
I've got some flashlights in my collection that you squeeze. Only they don't get very bright. I don't know. Kind of like me. That's pretty cool.
So what's right next to it? Who brought it?
This thing, I brought this. I've been kicking this around for years. It's sitting here because I can stand it up on my shelf, but it actually is supposed to be that way on a machine. And the knife collectors have a little sponge that has must have pumice in it. And I took that and I cleaned this face, and it says the Swift Lubricator Company. So that's some sort of a lubricator, probably for steam. When I pass that around, you guys take a look at that. It's just a little different. And I'm sure it's not all there. There is a sight glass on the end. It was just one of those things in the bottom of a box at a swap meet. And I was telling somebody here earlier, I reached down in the box and I pulled that out, and there's about 4 guys went, ooh. So I didn't put it back down. It was just one of those, it was that special, I guess I had to have it. And this is part of, out of a box of Harvey Highland stuff. As we were moving junk around and moving stuff down, I ended up with some boxes of stuff. I'm suspecting that's out of a Packard maybe?
That's Ford.
Ford Flathead?
Yeah.
Okay, I just need to know what it is so somebody that needs it can make use of it. And then earlier, you guys were talking about patterns. Back here on the table and right here are some patterns, and you need to look at the way this thing is made. These patterns were from Portland Fire Department years and years ago. Bill Tripp had them, Mike Slag had them. I think the cores, the black section would have been a separate core that went inside. I think they all got burnt in the stove out of Mike Slag's. But I saved a bunch of these. He was tired of moving them around. He's going to throw them all away. So what I've collected here and kept, they're going in the museum, the
Fire museum.
The fire museum, can't remember how they're wording that now, but the fire museum does have most of their funding for the first stage of their, first phase of their building out here. Yes, they got a very nice donation, enough to get started. And I've been saving these for years, so that's where these are going when it's all.
What year, Les?
What year? Well, I'm gambling they'd be probably 100 years old.
Oh, okay.
But you look at the work in this thing, it's just unreal the amount of work that went into this. And I just got it held together with a rubber band. You're welcome to take it apart and look, but it's just the two halves are just pinned together. And this was some sort of a valve on a big fire engine. And I got a couple others.
Had two flappers in it, so it was a check valve.
One-way valves, yeah. Yeah, that's what these would have been, a pivot for.
It's a gate valve.
Yeah, it's, and I saw something very similar to this on a fire truck the other day, and I kind of recognized it, so. That's something else we maybe should do sometime, is another pattern class. This is a carburetor off of an old engine. I suppose about a 1906, 1910 engine. And it seems to be a problem every time somebody finds one of them engines, the carburetor's missing. So I've started making a carburetor for Jim Johnson. This is about, kind of like his knives, this is about 5 years into this project. He bought the engine and took it home, took the casting, and he fiddled with it for a while and decided he couldn't do it. So I volunteered to do it because I had the carburetor, and I fiddle-farted around with it. Maybe once a month I get something out and I try to bore a hole or something. But I'm getting there, but that casting was near impossible to get a hold of. So what I did was I got it square straight in the lathe and turned a little spot on it. Then I made a sleeve, if you will, that would bolt into. And then you can work on it in the lathe because it's bolted into another part. And that was, that's probably 5 years ago. I'm pretty sure that all started.
We had that poured at one of our classes, I believe.
Yes, I think we did. And that wasn't poured off of this carburetor, which made it a little more difficult. And the other thing I want to tell you guys, upstairs, I'm putting together, there's 2 pickup loads of books up there now. And these are going to be available down here for people to come and look at and read. And there's even an index up there. We can go look up Raleigh Schreier, for instance. I have all the gas engine magazines in a, well, not all of them. The late ones I don't have. The early, I have them all in a cabinet, so we can pull that individual book out and look at the article. And I'm told that now in the gas engine magazine, there is a thumb drive available that has all this stuff indexed for gas engine magazine and farm collector, I think. But that don't do me any good because there's no computer up there. But all this Iron Man album?
It's on it too.
Okay. So I'll have a sign up here eventually. I have like 9 different publications upstairs. A lot of them are duplicates. If I have a duplicate, I'll sell it for $1. I'm just gonna put the money into more cabinets and more shelving up there, so. It's been 90% of it's donated by folks, a lot of you sitting right here in this room. It's available. If I have 2 copies, I'll let you take one out. If I only have 1 copy, they're staying here. But there is a copy machine over at John Deere. So, I think I'm done yapping.
See some whistles? Somebody bring in whistles?
Yeah. I did. I brought it in. Michael Armstrong, we're here in the corner, he found these 2 little ones down at the coast, a guy down in kind of what, in the seaside Canyon Beach area up in the mountains there. These are on the machinery out there in the mountains. And Bill thought that they were maybe for like whistles that they would use for when they're doing dynamite, blowing things up to continue.
Signal.
Steampunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for signaling.
Whistle.
I seen an air compressor with one of those little whistles on it, and the guy blow it before he'd shoot.
Yeah.
And they called it dynamite whistle.
And Bill saw this one too earlier when I first threw down the box here. He thought this one was attaches to a spark plug.
Yep.
So
Right.
Exhaust whistle.
And then exhaust whistle.
Yeah.
You go down in the manifold, not so much on the spark plug.
Well, they make one for a spark plug that goes off the side, and then the other little part of that brass piece screws into the head where the spark plug was. And then there's another part that the spark plug screws into, so it kind of shift down, pull the lever, and compression makes that thing spark.
Usually wouldn't used to sell that.
Yeah, this one was pretty loud. So many
Very
really
loud.
small.
Have them go down in that exhaust right below the manifold. When you pulled it, you'd get the pulses. Yeah, you've heard it. If you, yeah.
This one too was actually on the boat. I thought we got this out of a,
I never saw it.
Their name on that that says what it is.
I see a tag on the top of it.
It's pretty easy to get him worked up anyway.
Says airtime manufacturing.
Yeah, it won't be hard to run.
I imagine that.
All brass, it's probably on a boat.
Yeah, it came off of a boat.
Vancouver, Canada, made in Canada. Says 150-125, I suppose that's the air pressure they're putting on or something.
If you've ever been up on the Puget Sound, you can hear those things for about 6 miles.
Yeah, they're really loud. Yeah, they are really loud. The other 2 I brought are just, like, these are pretty standard, I guess. Oh, yeah. This stuff. Yeah.
Now that little chrome one, I'd call that a caboose whistle. Yeah, they had a whistle back in the cabooses.
And some of those caboose whistles, they would have a chime on there for a whistle, but it also had a valve that you can unload the air. It was plugged straight into the train line for the brakes. So you could dump the brakes when you're doing a reverse operation.
The caboose whistle had a little handle with it that you bent up.
Right. That would run that valve to dump the air and set up your brakes.
Okay. And this one, I don't know where it was from.
Yeah, I don't know.
Small steam engine.
Yeah.
You ever blow them, Wayne?
Yeah, I have. And this one I've had a lot of trouble adjusting. Because I've got to decide what kind of pressure I'm going to put in it or something, I guess. Obviously, if you go from like 60 pounds or 30 pounds to 100, you have to readjust it for that pressure. It won't work.
You have 3 chamber or 1?
1.
I have a 3-chamber buckeye. I lived 136 miles. We blew it with 125 pounds of air on New Year's Eve. They heard it on 126. And the cops were out looking for it.
Looking for it. Yeah.
Warren, did you bring something?
That's one of my finds in Montana.
I figured it was Warren's, because Warren
Who's gonna demonstrate those?
tends to collect these. It's an all-in-one castrator.
Step right
Are
up.
you gonna demonstrate it or?
Good job, Paul.
Not me.
Too late.
Did we miss anybody?
Alan's got something.
Oh, yeah.
This is a typical tool bolt handle that you see on machine tools, and this is going to be used for clamping the tool post on a little Atlas lathe. And the only thing that's kind of different about it is that instead of machining the balls on the lathe with a ball turning attachment, this is done on a milling machine. So basically what you do is you have a boring head in the spindle with the cutting tool. It's rotating. You angle this up to suit the size of ball and the neck diameter that you've chosen. So this is going around like this, and then the material is held in either a dividing head or a rotary table. And so you rotate that. So as this is machining here, this rotates all the way around, and you create a ball. And it leaves this kind of interesting swirl pattern. So this is just as it comes off the mill. And I'll pass that around.
That would not be your father's milling machine.
No, this was done on a Bridgeport cone. So that's a picture of it in use, and here's a few pictures of the various machining operations. And if any of you have a notion that you want to try that, there's a few copies of an article that tells you how to calculate the angle that you need to set your dividing head up at. You can make 2 ball handles or 3 ball handles.
Tell them where you found the article originally.
Oh, Home Shop Machinists started in about 1980 or something like that. And they republished a lot of the better early articles in a series of books. And this was in the first of that series of books. So this came out of about a 1982 Home Shop Machinist article. And those are there too.
Have anything else, Les? Frank?
I don't have anything else.
Mike? I've got a ring gear and pinion in the back of my Jeep I'm trying to identify. So when we're done here, I'll bring it up and open the back.
Dan Sudel isn't here.
Hey.
Dan it would be the one that could tell you on that.
Who's that?
Dan Sudel.
Oh, yeah.
He's Dan's Gears there in
Sherwood?
Sherwood.
Oh, yeah.
He would be the expert on that.
I think this is out of some kind of a farm. Yeah, I think somebody will know. When you see it, you'll know it's for free.
Anything else? We're looking for how many volunteers you want. Ken for carrying wood, moving stuff. Handful.
We'll go upstairs, who wants to volunteer, we'll go play wood, and the ones that want to help, they come back there.
He's the dead steps and just get it out.
That's right.
Whoever can walk up and down the steps, you know,
We're just bringing wood down, we're not bringing all the...
No, we're moving stuff away from the wall, so we can have wood and bring all the wood down the ramp.
The other thing we'll probably be doing a little bit after the class is running some of the equipment, showing off on that.
If you haven't seen the line shaft run, it sounds like we're going to fire that up for those that would like to.
Bolt it down.
More exciting.
Other than that,
oh, Warren.
What was December class again?
We don't have any topics yet, so if you have topics for classes, let us know. We don't have any for December, and I think we'll shoot for a swap meet in January.
otherwise it's going to be... Now like this air compressor, this engine that's belted up right here, that is the original air compressor that came out of the factory. And it would run all the air tools, and we have the air whistle that they would blow at noon and that, but the engine didn't run it, we've just got it belted up for looks right now. Everything.
Is that the whistle or is that light?
This?
Yeah.
That's an oiler. That oil, there's full oil in here, and then it drips down into the cylinder, and that's what lubricates the cylinder. And that.
It kind of looks like a tiny version of a street lamp.
Yeah. And you can set it in so many drips and that kind of stuff. The pretty much originally, everything that you see that's belted up, that's real close to the same configuration it was in its original garage. Only the line shaft was a lot lower. It was, I think it had like a 7-foot ceiling in there. And it didn't have the belt guard on it. We put that on because we're going to run a rail around it. And we didn't want people reaching up and grabbing the belt, which human nature is as such. All the lumber on here was cut here on the ground at the sawmill. A lot of the stuff you see underneath the benches came originally with when we bought the shop. It was like a time capsule. They built the drag saws from the 30s clear up into the 40s and then shut the door. We got original wood patterns, we've got new old stock parts, we've got kegs full of nuts and bolts. That's all upstairs right now that we've got to sort out and then figure out how we're going to display this kind of stuff. We're hopeful for a grand opening this year.
I'll pull my truck up to the trailer here.
I'll be out there in a minute too. So, you know, that's kind of where we're at. And it's, you know, a lot of the placement of the stuff has been all in here and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, tell us what these machines are that you were.
Okay, the two big metal lays are just regular standard metal lathes. The green machine here is a iron worker for shearing, punching, that kind of stuff. The drill press, all that. And then the horizontal green machine is a broach machine for broaching out pulleys and cylinders and that kind of stuff. It's all run off of one electric motor. And the motor? The motor is at the other end of this belt, right up against the wall. And in that cage is your main drive belt. That drives to the long shaft, and everything off that line, that shaft, goes to each individual item. The lathes, the grinders, they have clutches on them where you can engage and disengage them, so they're not sitting there running all the time. It's a lot of these cabinetries and that came out of the original factory. So I gotta go and look. You're welcome. No problem.
Alright, we made our way over here to the antique car museum, and they are finishing building their building here. This is just in the last 2 months, so yeah. Just step back over here and you get a wide shot. There you go. There's over here. Look. That's just in the last month. And then right next to that, that is the Caterpillar Museum. And then beyond that big loader out there is the where the Fireman's Museum is going to be. So things are moving along out here this winter, and hopefully we'll have all this stuff open when it comes showtime. They have a little Texaco station over here, so they got antique cars and motorcycles and all kinds of things. So yeah, I think that's going to be it. Thank you for watching CCTV today, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Hey everybody, I just want to say thank you for watching this class that was brought to you by the Branch 15 of the Early Day Gas Engine and Tractor Association at Antique Powerland in the Wolf Ironworks building that they just got completed, and they're working on getting their occupancy. They just got to have some final inspections and stuff. So yeah, and that was back in November on the 28th. So there's been a lot of stuff that's happened with that, and there's also been a lot of stuff that's happened with the car museum. So if you want to get more pictures of that are updated, you can go to Antique Powerland Museum on Facebook, and I don't know if they have anything on their website, but if you want more information about Antique Powerland, go to antiquepowerland.com. They're located in Brooks, Oregon at 3995 Brook Lake Road. Yeah, so if you want more information about Branch 15, you can also find them on Facebook at Branch 15 of the Early Day Gas Engine Association. and their website is branch15 edgeta.org. And if you want, you can follow me on Facebook at Kerry Peck, and you can follow me on YouTube at Kerry Peck. And there's a link to the Facebook and the Google Plus and all that. And Antique Powerland, I'll mention really quickly, they're on YouTube as well, and so is Branch 15. Just look for Branch 15. Yeah, if you want more information about CCTV, go to cctv.org, and their phone number is 503-588-2288-49085. So I also wanted to talk about a couple of books that I got for Christmas. This first one here is A Guide to Hart Parr, Oliver, and White Farm Tractors, 1901 to 1996. So that's like 90, almost 90 something years right there. And my dad got me this for Christmas because, well, yeah, next year at the Steam Up, the featured model tractor is Oliver. So this is a really good book. If you want more information about that book, you go look at American Society of Agricultural Engineers, 2950 Nelis Road, St. Joseph, Michigan. That's all it says inside the book. And then this other book, Evolution of a Tractor, a 1920 reminiscence by executives of the International Harvester Company. It's all these executives talking about the early days of International Harvester and their factory. So this has got lots of pictures from this guy's private archives. Some of these pictures, it's the first time that they were ever published. So if you want to check more of that out about that, you go to STEM Gas Publishing Co., P.O. Box 328, Lancaster, PA 17603. So there you go. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching the class, and have a good day.